Oh,
So,
yes.
interesting. Okay. Well, should we go ahead and get started then? And anybody else who shows up can show up when they show up, I guess. So, we are recording. So, hello everybody and welcome to the new year. Did everybody have a chance to look at the meeting minutes this morning?
I sent them out just before the meeting, so I don't think so. My recommendation was going to be to see if we could vote by email so that folks would have a chance to review them and suggest any changes.
Okay.
I suggest you add July's minutes to that too, because they didn't happen to get into the last vote.
Oh, I thought they did.
It only said September. I looked.
Oh.
Did it? Okay. Well, we'll do that too then.
Okay.
I think there was some controversy over something in the July meeting minutes, and that's why I didn't include them. Somebody had said something needed to be changed, and I didn't know if it had been changed. But we can do that.
Okay.
So.
I will review them and make sure that they're where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess in that case, we won't worry about that today. And we'll start with committee reports. Do we have any committee reports today? And I noticed that Perry put a link to the Sage financials for January in the chat if anybody wants to look at that. Which makes me think that we might be talking about that too. Caller number 1. All right, but shall we go ahead and start with the cataloging committee and work our way through whatever needs to be worked through then?
Dia, do you have a response about the cataloging committee?
No, because I'm not the chair anymore.
I know. I think what we're going to have to do from this point on is maybe have John write up something as a report since he's not on the council.
Makes sense to me.
Okay, thanks, Dia. I'm looking at my notes, and I don't have a lot. I know that we discussed the read-along training part 2 at the meeting and scheduled a time for that. The next cataloging committee meeting will be February. Actually, it was the 4th, but we changed it to the second Monday of the month.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll make sure that we have a fuller report next meeting.
Okay.
I'll ask John to do that.
Okay. That'll work. Did the circulation committee meet?
They did not.
Okay. Did we want to talk about the budget stuff since it's on there and there's a budget committee? Have they met yet? I don't know.
This is Perry. We have not met. I do have a draft budget that I was just working on today, so I can give you a preview of that. But I think I'll call a meeting for those who want to participate in the last week of this month. We'll see when people are available to do that. But I just had a board meeting last night, so this financial report is fresh from that. If you want to look at that, we've got half of the LSTA grant received so far, 27,500. Membership dues, 2,300 received. We're going to need to move our budget downward because of that change in the tier structure and the pricing, where that affected a couple of libraries. So our revenue from membership dues is not going to be as high as we'd budgeted to 214. But overall, our cash position is just fine at the moment.
Okay.
Christine has put the notes in on this PDF. You'll see the major expenses since the last report of courier expenses, Visa for Amazon courier labels, OLA membership, postal service courier expense.
Yep.
And then on page 2, she got the detail of the payment for John, $5,100 monthly. Equinox for, I guess, the migration, $3,750.
Okay.
Let me add a note to that, Perry. We did go over on our hours for the migration, but this was also to give us some residual hours, probably around 9 hours for any other large issues that come up that we need their help with.
Okay. So I do see that, I don't know if that's posted correctly in that category, but that does put us over budget on that category for technology.
It does put us over budget for this year. Those hours are good for 365 days.
Okay.
So we could lower our amount for next year.
Yeah, we'll just need to do a revised budget and bump that category up. Other than that, there's a note about a check written to Ontario Middle School, returning some of their credit overpayment. And I think we have paid the bulk of that credit we were holding, those credits down. So we started with a $12,000. We've gotten all but 2,600 of that returned to the members.
Okay. Cool.
And these were residual funds that from the original grant when they migrated into the system. They had an amount on deposit, and we've been carrying that amount on deposit all these years. And the decision was made to resolve that. So we made good strides.
Okay. Cool. All right. Did anybody have any questions about any of that? No. Okay. All right. Courier committee or strategic planning?
Neither of those committees met.
Okay. Any new business? Anybody wants to talk about anything? Or questions? No? It's a quiet group today.
It is a quiet group. I wanted to briefly bring up the new Evergreen version and explain kind of the work I'm doing behind the scenes. With the Evergreen upgrade, a lot of new functionality was added on the OPAC end, but not all of it is being reflected in our customized pages at this point. What I'm having to do is compare all of our custom code with the default code that comes in with the Evergreen software and incorporate our customization into the new code. So you will start seeing some changes. I made a change last night. I'm trying to do this off hours when I'm incorporating these changes. So that if something blows up, there's very few people that are impacted. But what I'll do is I'll send out an email later regarding the change I made last night. And I'm continuing to make changes, and I'd like to have feedback to see what folks think. It might be something minor like the ordering of certain fields on the display, and because of a new feature that was added. So anyway, just letting you know that that's happening, and it's taking some time, but it'll be worth it in the end.
Okay.
So Beth, are you going to send out emails periodically as you do these updates so we know?
Yes.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah. So like the change that I made last night, it's on the record details page. Things are displaying a little bit differently. And I'm also working on the code to display all the series at the top. And it's not quite working yet, but I made some changes to make that easier. So work in development, but I will be sending out emails periodically as I incorporate that new code.
Cool. Are we going to be able to stabilize the search fields in the Z3950 in this version of Evergreen? Or are they stabilized in the web client version? Because in the
yes, the staff client, the fields did bounce around. I will double check, but my thought was that it was more stable in the web client.
They're staying solid now.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Thanks for that feedback, Dia. I thought that's the way it was, but then I was doubting myself.
We haven't really started using that here in LeGrand yet, and I was just curious if that was going to be different or not. I don't mind loading it a few times to get them in an order that makes them convenient, but it's still weird that they do that to me.
Makes you pay attention to which field you're selecting to search for.
Oh, I know.
Sure
It's
does.
like a lottery kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you get the lucky draw in there right where you want them to be or not.
So I have not seen the speed search retrieval issues that we were having. Is that resolved? Have you gotten any more feedback?
I have not, since that when we first put up the spreadsheet, there was only there was a few entries those couple days. And I think what John and I are hoping is that the change we made on the system configuration took a little while to kick into gear, but that it's now improving things.
Okay.
Well, we noticed here in LeGrand that the searching was fine if you searched more specifically. It was only slow if you searched by a keyword. And I don't know if anybody has been searching just by keyword here since we figured that out. So.
Oh, well, I've been searching by keyword quite a bit lately. Okay. So I think it has improved, but I'm certainly hoping that folks will let us know if it hasn't.
Yeah.
One thing that we have noticed and reported is that the scoping seems to be off. We scope to our district holdings, but we're getting a lot of records that we don't have any items for.
Perry, what we noticed, and this still may be a bug, but with that search, what was coming up was a lot of empty records. And because they are empty, they don't have any ownership associated with them. And so I think that that's why they were populating that search. Since that time, John and I did a big cleanup project. We took a couple days and got rid of a lot of those empty records. So I think if we redo that search, we'll see some better results. But we're still looking into it.
Okay. And I also reported that the new items lists don't seem to be updated. They've only got new as 2016.
Really? Yeah, you did report that. I hadn't had a chance to look at the ticket with the other changes I was working on. But, so are you referring to the, where are you seeing this, Perry?
The link in the tab from the catalog on the navigation bar to new title lists.
Okay, navigation bar, new title list. Okay.
Yeah, I just pulled it up, and the newest thing in the top 100 right now is 10 Cloverfield Lane, the movie, which did come out in 2016.
That's
And
crazy.
it's in order from newest to oldest.
So do we know how long it's been that way?
I don't. I haven't looked at it for a while.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the info. I will look at that, and I'll see where it's pulling that list from, and if it's a canned search, obviously it's not working, or if it's pulling from a report, that report needs to be rerun. So it's been long enough since that was set up. I would think it would be more automatic, but...
Well, it says on that page that they're supposed to be updated daily around 9 a.m.
Okay, so there's a job that's not running, and who knows how long it hasn't been running. Okay.
Probably since the update, I suppose.
Well, it just seems strange if it was since the update. I mean...
Nobody's complained yet. It is strange. Do you get any analytics about how much people access that page?
Well, I can look at it. Our analytics were actually turned off. Something I discovered when I was doing the preparing to do the state library statistics, because I was going to pull that in, and I don't know at what juncture it was turned off, but we weren't keeping stats on our catalog pages, but we are now. So I can check at least for maybe the past 6 months to see what the traffic is on that particular item.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions or comments?
Ryan, I do want to go over the budget draft.
Okay.
Real quick, if you can give me control of the screen.
Sure. Okay, go back to there.
And Perry, before you start that, Brian, can I just mention, I noticed that you sent the emails for the agenda and the notice about the meeting only to the council members. That also needs to go out to the general group.
Okay.
The consortium.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for saying that, Dia. I meant to say something, and that's because we open these meetings up for everybody to attend, not just council.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, I see it.
Okay. So this has a lot of the historical budgets, so you can get a larger picture of SAGE position. The most recent budget that we're working on, the 2018-19, is in the green, with the actual expenditures and income in bright yellow. And to the left of that, you have the previous budget and the actual end year balances. So let's just look at the, and on the right we have the orange, which would be next year's budget proposal. So I expect that our cash will continue to be just over 200,000, probably a little more than we ended this, started this year with, so I have it at 205. Membership dues, need to, my philosophy is that those need to cover SAGE expenses, personnel and materials and services, less the grant funding. And so those expenses currently come to about $220,000. So that's the target figure that we'll need to adjust membership dues to make up for. LSTA Courier, Beth, is that 55,000? Is that what we requested for this year?
I haven't submitted the grant yet. The grant is due February 1st, I believe. It will probably be slightly higher than that.
Okay. So we did get 57,200 in 2017-18. So I can, let's say 58.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong one.
Sounds good.
58,000. Okay. Other revenue here, that's just member reimbursements for OCLC subscriptions. The budget committee can discuss whether we want to implement a cost of living increase for Beth. I think I've got 2% in there now. Probably, I expect that the Baker will be 2% or so. But the big challenge this year is new biennium for PERS, and that's going up dramatically. So coming down to line 33, you'll see I've got almost 17,000 in that line, and that's based on the calculations for the new percentages. So that's a 22% increase from the current year. And there's not a lot we can do about that. Health insurance, I don't think is increasing much. It's pretty stable. So altogether, total personnel costs $97,450, and that's almost 5,000 over the current budget, mostly due to PERS. On the materials and services, I've kept all these lines pretty much the same as the current budget, so we'll need to discuss whether any of those need to be adjusted upward or downward.
Just to mention in passing, Authority Control, our current vendor is going out of business, and so I'm looking at other vendors. I don't know whether the cost will be less or more at this point.
Capital outlay, I have 25,000. That might be a little high. Depends on our goals. You know, do we want it to? I think that's mostly for planning for server replacement. So I don't know if that's anywhere near what it would cost to replace the servers that we own ourselves. I know server costs have come down, but I haven't priced that out. We have 22,000 in contingency and 135,000 that we use as a reserve to operate for the balance of time between when the new fiscal year starts and when we receive our membership. And that should be plenty. That should get us through December. So I would invite anybody who wants to participate in the budget committee to look out for an email invitation for a meeting in that last week of January. I've got some ideas for strategic planning that I would like to propose with that as well. So it'll kind of be a joint budget and strategic planning meeting.
Thanks, Perry. I'd like to be involved in that meeting as well.
I would expect you would. Yes. So I didn't cover, but that 221,000, to get to that point, that's a 10% increase in SAGE dues across the board right now.
Do we anticipate that being a hardship for folks? I mean, sometimes we get feedback at even at 3% increase.
Probably. And if that's the case, where can we make cuts to bring the expenses down would be the question, or do you want to eat into the reserve to keep costs down would be another strategy.
Yeah, I guess that will be our discussion at the meeting, and we'll have a chance to look at this in advance and see if there's some categories that can be adjusted. The training and professional development, is that the Evergreen Conference?
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think some of that is travel for the Evergreen Conference, training both SAGE staff and I think conference costs, like registration costs, but the travel for the conferences is in the travel line.
Oh, okay.
Does that include support for the conference? I know in the past we have included some. Maybe this year we can't do that.
All right, I think we took that.
I thought that was under development.
Yeah, it might have been taken out of technology and development.
Yeah.
Which is up there, line 45.
Yeah. I think that what we used to do, Perry, was we used to keep the conference travel separate from the SAGE support travel. And so I see that line is over budget because the conference travel was put in that travel line rather than the professional development line. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Christine is happy to post things wherever.
Yeah, I didn't need to make it more clear.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're talking about the overage, right there on that.
Yeah, because I know that my travel was down last year to doing site visits, and I anticipate that it's going to be more this year because of the web client and wanting to go out and make sure that sites are ready and comfortable. And so, the reason it was over last year was because must have been the conference travel and OLA. So I can look in the detail on that, and then maybe have Christine move some things around.
Yeah, I would recommend that. So one of the things that I noticed when we adjusted those tiers was that there's a big disparity between the tier levels.
Yeah.
And it just really highlights kind of the arbitrariness of payment structure that we have.
Yeah.
So what I want to discuss with the budget committee / strategic planning committee is what are the alternatives that we can look at to have a more logical payment system,
Yeah,
a membership.
more logical and less historical.
Yeah. And how do we get there? Do we phase that out? Because that would be huge. If we go with a new system, a new payment rate system, we'd have to phase that in over years. So how do we get there? And that will all be part of the discussion for our meeting. If you can see my screen now, I've been playing with per capita rates. So 85 cents per capita and 55 cents per capita with a monthly tier fee combination to get us to the 220,000 mark. So I will share that at the exciting budget strategic planning meeting.
All right.
Sounds good. Do we have a link to this draft document as well, Perry?
This one here, not yet. I will post that.
Okay.
See if I can just make it a page of the budget that I posted. Not sure how well this is going to translate. Might have to upload a new one. That's all I have.
Okay. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about or ask about? Shall we adjourn the meeting?
So Perry, when you put that notice out, are you putting it out to the whole consortium or just to people on the council?
That's a good question. What would you
I would recommend sending it out to the whole group. In case there's people who aren't on the council that are extremely interested in the budget.
That's what I was thinking, because it seems like in the past we've had, folks who are staff, but directors are more interested in being part of that, or people that aren't on the council that have an interest in this. And so.
Okay, I will do that.
I would just hate for us to, exclude people that really have a burning desire to be part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so that spreadsheet that I was looking at with the options is now one of the tabs on the same one that I posted a link for with the budget draft. Just look down at the bottom and click member fee options.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Perry.
Yeah.
You're welcome. It's always a puzzle. It's kind of fun when you're able to work it out in a happy way.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a challenge, though, because we kept going based upon previous years, and there was you definitely want to make it consistent and fair. And so I think moving to something is definitely a good idea. Just getting there, it might be a challenge.
Yeah.
So did it used to be a flat rate based on just the tier? Or was it?
Well, there's been lots of different methods over the years. When
more recently.
Yeah, when Pioneer was first created, and it was just EOU, Baker, and LeGrand, it was split 3 ways. And once we started adding more libraries, we had to come up with something different.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing that my copy and paste just did the figures only on the spreadsheet. It didn't do the formulas, so I might be sending out a different link. I'll have to upload it to get those formulas so that it'll be dynamic.
It'll still give people the basic numbers for now, though.
Yeah.
So, okay. That per capita increase is a big number. All right.
85 cents per capita. And
Yeah.
what I don't know.
It's like a
what
30 to 40% increase for some of the libraries in the higher tiers.
Yeah, right. And that's
Yeah.
that's a big part of the discussion that
Yeah.
we need to have. What, for members of their size, would be the market rate for going back to Millennium or another commercial vendor? How do we compare? How do our rates compare to the commercial market with that kind of population right now?
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know whether we're going to be able to get that unless somebody's gone out and gotten a quote.
Well, I think we need to get quotes, yeah. But then you'd also have to calculate in migration fees that they charge as well, and prorate that in. But for annual cost, on a library with a population of 25,000 or more, what is that? It'd be good to find out.
Yep.
Could we check with some libraries, say throughout the state, that maybe are under something like that would be comparable, that maybe get a ballpark anyway?
Yeah,
This is Erin.
try that.
I would call the Clackamas County. They're a consortium, and I don't know what their ILS is, but they would probably be comparable to us.
Are they legally allowed to share that information?
That I don't know.
That's a good question.
I can contact them if you want.
That'd be great, Erin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that when we were given quotes by Innovative, we were sworn to secrecy. They didn't want people comparing.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's a red flag.
And it seems like that goes back further too, because it seems like I remember Ken saying something about that with some of the quotes and stuff we had in our back room, that they had to be destroyed.
Well, when our city got a new website, we had companies submitting public records requests for all the quotes that we got. Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. The back alley dealings of library ILS software.
Yeah.
Kneecappers for hire. Right. Okay. Well, thanks for all the math at 10 o'clock in the morning. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about?
Any ideas for agenda items for next month other than the budget? I guess we'll develop some between now and then.
Okay. All right. Does anybody want to adjourn the meeting officially then?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Well, then we'll consider it adjourned for now.